Hello, my name is Moheb Soliman, and I'm here today to talk to you about my poetry work. For the longest time, I've considered myself an interdisciplinary poet, which to me means basically using poetry in a lot of different other media, performance or installation, video. But throughout all of the kind of different projects I've done, I've always really focused on poetry and used language and text. Um, so most recently, I'm just really excited to have my debut actual book of poems out. It's called Homes. It just came out through this incredible um, indie publisher called Coffee House Press. And so, you know, After doing all this other work using poetry to now finally have this book and have all these poems accumulate in this collection, just feels like a really important juncture in my career. The book itself is, yeah, sort of, I think of it as like postmodern nature poetry meets kind of immigrant travel log, focused on the Great Lakes region as a whole, kind of as a coherent, bioregion, but also as a, very fractured borderland. Um, so the book kind of moves through a lot of different spaces all over the region and kind of tries to capture the natural cultural overlaps. There's just kind of a lot of fodder there to try to grapple with how do we relate to nature and environment in our time, and how do different people kind of fit into and belong in this region. Because so much of this book came out of a lot of on-site writing. Um, I spent 4 months circling the entire coast of the Great Lakes through a fellowship, and was really able to just try to kind of inhabit a lot of different spaces. Big cities, small towns, wilderness areas, national parks, and even just kind of a lot of out-of-the-way spaces that aren't really named or claimed. Um, and it really kind of made a big difference to me to be able to kind of try to render and capture these spaces on site. So I would say a lot of this book came out of a lot of writing that might have been a little bit hurried, or really just kind of knowingly very incomplete, and kind of really trying to capture the more visceral or sensual or phenomenological experience of a place and a time. Um, and then it kind of left me a ton of work to do to translate a lot of that writing into the poems that now made it into the book. And I think that process at some point definitely had to just kind of be a lot of slogging away on the computer. But I think even just kind of working with those notes and those notebooks and those kind of random scraps of paper, I sort of feel like it really kept the writing honest to what motivated it, and kind of allowed me to really slip back into that body and that moment and that time of being out there all over the region. That question really got to me because I feel like writer's block is just constantly always happening. I don't feel like inspiration kind of comes very easily in the form of art making, but it actually comes so easily all the time from just kind of being out and living life and experiencing things and talking to people, and or being alone. But the actual act of kind of really working on writing feels to me so fraught, and I'd like to think that kind of circles back and kind of informs the poetry in a lot of ways, where you see kind of a tension between wanting to really capture something in writing versus sort of embody it or live it out. Um, you know, if you're in some beautiful place and you're at a vista or it's sunset, or any of these sorts of kind of more harmonious moments, or you might be so overwhelmed and kind of just feeling that place so much that it might almost seem self-evident, why write this down? um, and yet when you do kind of try to capture some of it, and you maybe aren't going for anything too complete or coherent, some of those details and some of those memories that you kind of can capture, I think, really can come back and imbue that piece of writing with something really special that isn't just kind of a narrative description of a place, but is a little bit more experiential. So that is kind of a writer's block in a way. I feel sometimes I do feel frustrated that I can't write these kind of more epic or sweeping or kind of wisdom laden poems that are out there that I admire. And especially when it comes to nature poetry, there's just so much of that that's kind of trying to learn from a place or a creature or something, and that's just really not the kind of work I think I'm managing. But it has its own, I think, idiosyncrasies and its own kind of special spirit in trying to kind of work with some of those tensions I was talking about. So. What I think I would love to be able to actually is be a musician and play music. Um, so many, important people in my life are musicians, and something about that ability to just create something truly abstract, which is so definite from, or opposite from words, which are so definite, so full of definition. I think I've kind of really romanticized that. The ability to kind of live in an abstract expression. So I think I would just go all the way and leave writing behind and be some kind of I don't know, jazz musician or something, or maybe even something weirder, and just kind of be able to play instruments, and who knows what kind of sounds and compositions I could come up with if I had that skill. Well, I'm happy to say that this book is really easily available through Coffee House Press online. Um, and I've been really working hard to actually tour the book all over the Great Lakes region, and show up at a lot of different indie bookstores, um, and by virtue of having a reading there, kind of getting them to carry the book so that it's available in so many of these kind of smaller places that inspired that work. So yeah, I hope you can find it in Sault Ste. Marie, Toronto, Thunder Bay, and all over kind of a bunch of smaller Great Lakes towns on the US side.